Greetings viewers, I am Eric the Car Guy, but I'm also known as ETCG1 because I have two channels, and here on ETCG1 it's the special one, and I start things off with, hey, if it's your birthday, happy birthday. Please enjoy this digital confection that I found for you on the internet. Haha! I don't want today's video to sound like an excuse, but I often tell people that my life is an exercise in Murphy's Law, and I think this video will be an example of exactly that. And what I'm speaking about specifically is my plans for the shop. Now, before I left for Las Vegas last week, I had put together a video about shop organization and had everything laid out and had a pretty good idea of where I was going to put stuff in the shop. But the surprise that I was hoping to bring to you was to bring everything into a freshly painted shop. So the shop, I paid people to come in and paint the shop so that before I moved my stuff in, which by the way, I ended up moving on a cold, rainy Wednesday instead of a nice Saturday afternoon. The reason being is because I had to push the moving schedule out because I needed to accommodate the painters to come in and do their work. In fact, you're looking at a shop that is only partially painted. And the reason for that is, well, the painting company completely failed at getting their job done on time. I had given them specific instructions. I said I need to move in by this date, which I believe was October 29th. I said I need the paint job done before then. And I was talking to them, I think the Thursday the week before at that point, and they're like, sure, no problem, we'll have that done. Let me just back the truck up here a minute. Before I was a mechanic, I was a professional painter. So I painted houses, painted commercial properties, all that kind of thing. I worked in Pittsburgh with a company called East End Painting. I worked with a couple of guys there that frankly I haven't been in touch with in more than 30 years, and I miss them, and I wish I could spell their names so I could find them somewhere. But anyhow, really enjoyed working with those guys. But we spent about 4 years painting houses and different things in Pittsburgh. So I have real world experience as a professional painter. I know what it takes. I know what you need to do. And since that time, I was a professional painter. I was a landlord. I've painted several things. I painted an entire house myself, inside and out. So I have experience with painting. I feel I have every right to call out whoever I'm calling out here because, well, I did it for a while myself. Anyhow, I scheduled them to come in. They were going to come in Monday and Tuesday and knock it out. This is a 2,000 square foot shop. I wanted the ceiling painted white and I wanted the walls painted a light gray. The reason I wanted the walls a light gray is because cameras set their white balance better in gray than they do white. Anything white will reflect whatever color is in the room, so that sort of offsets the balance of the color of the camera. I specifically, since I'm shooting video in this space, wanted something that would be friendly to cameras. Well, I didn't get what I wanted, not even close. So this is how it kind of went down. They first started out on Monday. They started backing out the time that they were coming to do the job. So a time-sensitive job, mind you. And that was the thing. Before I even committed, I said, can you get this done before October 29th? Yes was the answer I got to that. So Monday morning comes along, and well, even before Monday morning, on Sunday, I was getting texts saying that your painter, blah, 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 is going to show up at 8 a.m. A little while later, your painter, blah, 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 is going to show up at 9 a.m. A little while later, painter is going to show up at 10 a.m. So already on a time-sensitive job, they're backing the start time off and off and off. I'm like, okay, you know, they know what they're doing. They've got this thing sorted out. So I was sitting outside the shop on Monday morning waiting for the painters to show up at 10 a.m. and 10 a.m. comes and goes and I haven't seen them, and I get a phone call from somebody saying, oh, we sent them to the wrong place. They sent them to another part of town. They're going to be another 40 minutes before they even get to you. I'm like, oh, okay, I've got stuff to do. I'm going to leave the place unlocked. You just come in and start work. I'm going to go do the stuff I got to do. When I come back, we'll catch up. Well, I came back to find one painter. No ladder, no nothing. There was paint here. They dropped off the paint, but that was it. So the guy basically spent the rest of the day prepping things out. I had already spent a whole lot of time cleaning this place up, and I mean cleaning this place up. I took all the shelving off the walls, got rid of all that, and then along the lower part of the wall in the shop, there's kind of a plastic covering that really can't be painted, and I'm really disappointed by that. And if you try to pull it off, there's like liquid nails or something behind it. It's got to be there for now. Anyway, I spent 3 hours cleaning that. Like went all along the lower part of the wall, cleaned up all that stuff, cleaned up the garage doors, cleaned up everything, all in preparation so that when I came in on the 29th, I had a freshly painted shop that was ready to move into, and I could get everything set up and start work in this coming week, the one that we're in right now. Well, that didn't happen. We get to the end of Monday and I come out, still one guy is here and he's gone through and he's cleaning up because there were quite a few cobwebs and things along the ceiling, and it really needed a paint job. It needed at the very least to be cleaned up. And that's what he was working on. And he worked on filling all those holes from all the screws that were in the wall, holding up all the shelving and everything else, and sanding and leaving sanding stuff everywhere. Well, that's just part of painting. That's just how it works. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to get this done before I moved all my stuff in, because with all my stuff in the way, all my stuff is in the way, and that paint job just became that much more difficult. Anyhow, I was busy on Tuesday, in fact, most of the day Tuesday, and I didn't get to come over here until 3 p.m. that afternoon, the day before this paint job was supposed to be done. And basically what you see here is what I found. And I don't know if you remember earlier in the video, I mentioned that I wanted the ceiling white. And you could probably see the ceiling is gray. So not only did they not paint the ceiling the correct color, they weren't even close to being done. And I have to say they at this point, because when I came in at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, what I found was 2 painters, which, okay, and 1 12-foot ladder. So the guy had a 12-foot ladder and one other guy working with him, and they were able to get all this done, which I'm impressed by. But I was told they're bringing out a piece of equipment and some dudes, and they were just going to knock this place out. Well, there was nothing of that, obviously. So it came to the end of the day on Tuesday, call him up saying, why is my ceiling gray and not white? And the painter said he called somebody and they said, just paint it gray, don't worry about the white, because apparently they didn't have white paint. They'd only been given gray. Comedy of errors. And I've squarely put this on management of the job because, number one, they started the job late on a time-sensitive job, so they weren't taking it seriously in my mind. They didn't properly equip the painter that was here. There was not enough personnel. Painters, plural, should have been painting this place on a time-sensitive job like this, and they painted it the wrong color. So many things. As I said, I sometimes feel my life is an exercise in Murphy's Law. But I try to convey this information onto you, and how this is going to affect you, quite simply, is now that all my stuff is moved in, since at that moment I realized that they were never going to get it done in time, I said leave. And I will say this, okay, the company did fail epically. However, they refunded all of my money and left me with all the paint for the job. So they also did a bunch of prep work, which I'm a little unhappy that they took my snow brush instead of one of their tools. In fact, they were using my ladder and things to start with. I was a little sad that they took my snow brush and used it to remove a bunch of spider webs, because then my snow brush was covered in spider webs. And then they took it and put it in my brand new bucket as if I wouldn't find it. Not so happy about that. So the painter was a little sneaky, not to mention the cigarette butts and wrappers that he left around the shop, which I like to keep this place hyper clean, okay? Hyper clean. I don't want cigarette butts around my shop or on my property, period. Like I said, they refunded my money, so there is that. But now I'm faced with the prospect of having to finish this paint job. And to that end, I recently went out and purchased myself a 12-foot step ladder, because that's what I believe they had when they were here. It's too short for me. I don't want to climb any higher than, well, you see here in this image. And I'm a few inches short of reaching the top. Now, I could buck it up and go a little higher, or maybe something. Also, I wanted to replace the lighting in this place. So I have a whole new set of LED lighting. I was supposed to be installing that before moving all my stuff into place and doing a video about painting my shop. The color of my shop and why I painted it that color, and how painting your shop and redoing the lighting can help brighten things up. I am nowhere near that part of this shooting schedule right now. I have to figure out how to finish painting this place before I can even move forward with the next thing. So that is why, as I said at the beginning of the video, that I'm starting off with something that's going to sound a lot like an excuse. And well, you'd have a valid point in that. But I would say that, people I hired, man, they just failed epically. And I'm not going to name them here because, like I said, they did come through and they gave me all my money back. So this didn't cost me anything. And I got prep work done and I got paint, but I don't have a finished painted shop, and I need to figure out how to solve for that. So I need to solve for that. And now you know why the Eric the Car Guy video schedule is somewhat delayed. But I will point out that I own this place, and as long as I continue to pay the mortgage, well, I'm not going anywhere. So there is that. We may be delayed, but we're still here. Try to look on the bright side. That's what living Murphy's Law has taught me. Let's wrap this up then. If you have automotive questions, ericthecarguy.com is always there for you. It's linked down in the description along with additional videos, additional information. The description has more stuff, so if you have questions, check the description. Other than that, I want to thank you so much for watching today. Like really, truly, honestly, thank you for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Be safe, have funny. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. I will see you next time.